The day the skies burned violet, humanity learned a new word for fear. Her name was Veilrith, Supreme Commander of the Carvex Dominion, Destroyer of 6 civilizations, Breaker of Suns. From orbit, her flagship, the Obsidian Halo, cast a shadow across half the Atlantic Ocean. It was not merely a ship, it was a continent of black metal, curved like a crescent blade aimed at Earth's throat. Veilrith stood in the command chamber, talons folded behind her back. The room pulsed with dim blue light from quantum reactors embedded in the walls. Outside the massive viewport, Earth rotated peacefully, unaware of the judgment hovering above. Her species had studied humanity for decades. They had watched wars streamed in high resolution. They had cataloged pollution metrics. They had archived footage of nuclear detonations, genocides, collapsing ecosystems. The Carvex believed in balance. Humanity, they concluded, was imbalance incarnate. Confirm planet-wide targeting grid, Veilrith ordered. Her second-in-command, Ter, inclined his narrow head. Annihilation lattice synchronized. One command will fracture continental plates and ignite atmospheric combustion. Billions would die within minutes. Veilrith felt nothing. Her own world had once begged for mercy. None had come. Centuries ago, a species not unlike humans had ravaged Carvex Prime, stripping its oceans and poisoning its skies in pursuit of expansion. Veilrith had been young when the wars ended. She remembered the ash-filled air. She remembered carrying her hatchling brother through ruins. He had not survived. Since then, she had sworn an oath. No species would ever be allowed to grow powerful enough to repeat that horror. Humanity had crossed that threshold. They have weapons capable of planetary sterilization, Ter continued. Artificial intelligences advancing beyond containment. Colonization projects extending toward Mars. They will spread, Veilrith said coldly. And when they do, they will consume. She raised her clawed hand toward the control console. Then an alert chimed. Commander, Ter said, confused. Surface transmission detected. From their military?
No.
It appears to be civilian. Origin: small urban settlement. Age marker indicates juvenile. Veilrith's eyes narrowed. Patch it through. The viewport shimmered, replaced by a holographic projection. A human child appeared. Perhaps 10 years old. Dark hair messy. Tear-streaked face. Behind him, buildings trembled from distant shockwaves as panic spread worldwide at the sight of alien ships filling the sky. The boy swallowed. Hello, he said, voice shaking but determined. I don't know if you can understand me, but if you can, please don't hurt us. The bridge fell silent. Veilrith felt irritation. We are not negotiating with offspring, she said. But she did not terminate the transmission. The boy looked directly into the projection field, as if meeting her gaze across the void. My name is Adam, he said. My teacher said if someone powerful is about to do something bad, you're supposed to ask them why. The audacity, Ter muttered. Permission to disable signal? Veilrith raised a claw.
No.
Adam wiped his face. Are you going to destroy us? Yes. Veilrith replied without hesitation. Her voice translated through the ship's universal codec into smooth English. Your species is destructive, expansionist, violent. You will eventually threaten galactic stability. The boy listened. He did not scream. He did not curse. Instead, he asked quietly, Did someone hurt you? The question struck like a physical force. On the bridge, several officers shifted uneasily. Veilrith's voice sharpened. Irrelevant. My mom says, Adam continued, voice trembling but steady, that when people break things, sometimes it's because something inside them is already broken. Ter hissed. Commander, this is psychological manipulation. But Veilrith did not feel manipulated. She felt something else. An echo. Middle. The conversation that should not have happened. Child, Veilrith said, your species has caused extinction-level damage to your own biosphere. You wage wars over ideology. You invent weapons capable of erasing yourselves. You are a threat. Adam nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. We mess up. A lot. That was not the response she expected. You admit it? Of course. He sniffed. We're not perfect. Grown-ups fight. Countries fight. Sometimes they're stupid. A faint ripple of amusement moved through the bridge crew. Veilrith silenced them with a glance. But, Adam continued, we also fix stuff. Your atmospheric carbon levels suggest otherwise. We're trying, he insisted. There are scientists cleaning oceans, people planting trees, doctors helping for free. When earthquakes happen, strangers come from other countries to help. Veilrith accessed archive data in real time. Disaster relief efforts, international cooperation, medical breakthroughs shared freely. It was statistically present, but overshadowed by conflict. Your violence outweighs your compassion, she countered. Adam shook his head. It just gets more attention. That sentence lingered. On Carvex Prime, history had been written only in terms of wars lost. Never the small kindnesses that had survived between them. Why do you care? Veilrith demanded. If you fear annihilation, why speak to me? You are insignificant in your species' hierarchy. Adam swallowed again. Because someone had to. Your leaders have not contacted us directly. They're probably arguing, he admitted. They do that. A faint, involuntary flicker of something like humor passed through Veilrith. Then she hardened again. You believe one conversation will alter extinction? I don't know, Adam said honestly. But if you're going to destroy us, you should at least know we're more than our worst moments. Veilrith stepped closer to the holographic field. Explain. Adam thought for a moment. When my dad lost his job, our neighbors brought food. When a kid at school gets bullied, some of us stand up for him. When there was a virus, doctors worked until they were exhausted to save strangers. Her processors cross-referenced historical data, pandemics, volunteer networks, self-sacrifice, statistical anomalies within an otherwise chaotic species. Those are isolated cases, Veilrith said. So is every war, Adam replied quietly. It starts with a few people. Silence. For the first time in centuries, Veilrith felt uncertainty. Her entire doctrine rested on preemptive eradication. Remove the threat before it matures. Humanity would one day expand beyond its solar system. They would encounter others. And history suggested expansion bred conquest. But history also showed transformation. Carvex Prime had once been violent too. They had changed after devastation. Your species required near extinction to achieve unity. Ter interjected telepathically. Humans may not survive such a correction. Veilrith responded privately. Is annihilation the only correction? Adam watched her in silence. Can I ask you something? He said softly. You already are. Did you ever lose someone? The bridge temperature seemed to drop. She could have ended the transmission.
She should have.
Instead, she answered. Yes. What happened? They were killed, she said evenly. Because another species believed my world was inconvenient. Adam's eyes widened, not in triumph, but in understanding. That's horrible. It was such a small phrase. Such a human phrase. Not strategic. Not manipulative. Just empathy. I'm sorry, he said. No one had ever said that to her. Not as a commander. not as a survivor, not as Veilrith. Karvek's culture honored strength, not grief. Adam continued, if someone had destroyed that species before they hurt you, would that have been better? Yes, she answered automatically. Even if some of them were good? The question hung. Her brother's face surfaced in memory. He had been kind. He had fed injured sky creatures even during wartime. Would another species have seen that? Or would they have reduced him to a statistical probability of future aggression? She felt something fracture inside her certainty. You cannot risk billions of lives on hope, she said finally. Adam nodded. True. Then he said the sentence that would alter galactic history. But you're risking billions of lives on fear. The bridge fell completely silent. Veilrith stared at the child.
Fear.
Was that what this was? Her oath had felt righteous, logical, protective. But beneath it, was she preventing another tragedy? Or ensuring one? Climax, the decision. Ter stepped forward urgently. Commander, global militaries are mobilizing nuclear arsenals. They interpret our delay as prelude to invasion. Human defense systems flared across the planet. Missiles primed. Submarines armed. Humanity, frightened and cornered, prepared to strike. Adam glanced sideways at something off-screen, sirens wailing in the distance. Are they going to attack you? He asked. Yes, Veilrith replied. Will that make you destroy us faster? Yes. He closed his eyes briefly. Then he looked back at her. Then please don't judge us by what we do when we're scared. The words struck deeper than any weapon. Karvek's Prime had once launched desperate counterstrikes too. Fear made monsters of everyone. Veilrith turned to her crew. Time to atmospheric ignition? 3 minutes if we proceed, Ter said. Commander, hesitation increases tactical risk exponentially. Across Earth, news networks broadcast the alien fleet. Children cried. Governments panicked. And one small boy stood in his living room, talking to the being who held extinction in her claws. Adam, Veilrith said slowly, if I withdraw, what assurance do I have that your species will not become the threat I foresee? He hesitated. I can't promise that, he admitted. I'm just a kid. Honesty again. But I can promise this, he continued. If you destroy us, you're proving that powerful people always choose fear over hope. Her talons tightened. And if I spare you, then you prove someone powerful can choose differently. A warning alarm pulsed through the bridge. Multiple human missiles launched. Ter shouted. Incoming projectiles. 30 seconds to impact. Veilrith's mind calculated trajectories. The obsidian halo could withstand primitive nuclear devices. But retaliation would follow. Escalation inevitable. She looked at Adam one last time. He wasn't pleading anymore. He was simply waiting.
Trusting.
For reasons beyond logic. Veilrith exhaled. Deactivate annihilation lattice, she ordered. The bridge froze. Commander? Ter whispered. Deploy defensive shields only. No counteroffensive. Transmit ceasefire signal across all frequencies. Human missiles detonated harmlessly against shimmering alien barriers high above Earth's atmosphere. Across the planet, shock turned to confusion. Veilrith addressed global channels. This is Commander Veilrith of the Karvek's Dominion. Humanity stands at a precipice. Today you have been judged and spared, not because you are innocent, but because you are unfinished. Adam stared at her in disbelief. You will have one galactic cycle, she continued, to demonstrate growth beyond self-destruction. We will observe, fail, and we will return. Global silence followed. Then the alien fleet began to ascend. The violet sky slowly faded, ending the child who spoke. Weeks later, Earth was changed. Not unified overnight, Not perfected, but shaken. For the first time, humanity knew it was being watched, not by an enemy seeking conquest, but by a civilization demanding maturity. International summits formed. Military budgets redirected toward planetary defense and sustainability. Not out of altruism alone, but survival. Adam became famous against his will. Reporters asked how he had convinced an alien warlord to spare Earth. He always gave the same answer. I just asked her why. High above the solar system, the obsidian halo drifted at the edge of detection range. Ter stood beside Veilrith. You risked our security, he said quietly. Yes. Do you believe they will change? Veilrith watched Earth rotate in the distance. Cities glowing softly. Storm systems swirling. Fragile. I believe, she said slowly, that extinction guarantees nothing changes. And hope. Hope is inefficient, she replied. Then, after a pause. But it is not illogical. She replayed the recording of Adam's final words before transmission ended. Please don't judge us by what we do when we're scared. Carvex Prime had never been given that chance. She had. And she had chosen differently. Far below, a child who dared to speak had shifted the trajectory of two civilizations. Not with weapons, not with power, but with a question. And somewhere deep within Veilrith's guarded heart, something long thought dead stirred again. Not vengeance, not fear, but possibility. The Carvex fleet did not leave immediately. They withdrew beyond the moon's orbit and held position, silent, watchful. Human governments panicked for days. Some demanded retaliation. Some demanded surrender. Some demanded global unity. For the first time in recorded history, every major nation faced a truth no ideology could argue with. Humanity was not alone, and it had nearly been erased. Adam's transmission replayed across the world. He asked her why. Commentators called it naive. Scientists called it statistically miraculous. Military analysts called it impossible. But none of those labels changed the fact that Earth still existed. On board the obsidian halo, Veilrith stood alone in the observation chamber. Carvex Prime shimmered in holographic memory behind her, ruins, ash storms, the skeletal remains of cities swallowed by time. She had dedicated centuries to ensuring that suffering never repeated. And in doing so, she had almost become the architect of it. Ter entered quietly. Commander, internal councils request justification for the reprieve. Several war factions believe mercy signals weakness. Veilrith did not turn. Did our enemies show mercy to us? Ter pressed. No, she answered. Then why extend it? She finally faced him. Because we are not them. The words felt foreign and yet correct. Our doctrine was forged in trauma, she continued. But doctrine is not destiny. Ter's crest lowered slightly. And if the humans prove your trust misplaced, then we act, she said calmly. But if we destroy them now, we confirm that power always answers fear with annihilation. A long silence followed. You were changed by the child, Ter said. Veilrith considered that. No, she said at last. I was reminded. Earth. 1 year later. The alien ultimatum, 1 galactic cycle, translated to roughly 7 Earth years. The countdown became a symbol. A deadline not just for survival, but evolution. Something unexpected happened. Not perfection. Not universal peace. But awareness. Global climate accords were enforced with unprecedented cooperation. Space agencies unified into a shared planetary initiative. Weapons research funding shifted toward asteroid defense systems and clean energy innovation. Humanity still argued, still stumbled, still made mistakes. But now, Every act of destruction carried a visible consequence. They're watching. Adam returned to normal life, mostly. He hated interviews. He hated being called Earth's ambassador. He was just a kid who had been scared. One evening, sitting on the rooftop of his apartment building, he looked at the stars. "You think they're still there?" his mother asked gently, sitting beside him. "Yeah," he said. "Are you scared?" He thought about it. A little. She squeezed his hand. "That's okay." He smiled faintly. "I told her not to judge us by what we do when we're scared. And I hope we don't prove her wrong." Year 4. The test. Midway through the cycle, humanity faced a crisis that would define everything. A massive solar flare, far stronger than predicted, erupted from the sun. Power grids collapsed. Satellites failed. Global communications fractured. Old tensions resurfaced instantly. Some nations hoarded resources. Some deployed military forces to secure borders. The world teetered. High above, Carvex observers monitored every transmission. Terror turned to Veilrith. "This is their nature resurfacing." "Or their fear," she replied. For 48 hours, the planet hovered on the brink of chaos. Then something shifted. Engineers across rival nations began sharing grid restoration code openly. Military cargo planes delivered supplies across political boundaries. Civilian networks organized food distribution faster than governments could. Medical teams crossed borders without waiting for treaties. It was messy, imperfect, but it was cooperation born not from convenience, but from choice. Terra watched the data streams in silence. "They are stabilizing," he admitted. "Yes," Veilrith said softly. On Earth, Adam sat in darkness during the blackout, candle flickering. The power returned on the third night. When the lights came back on across continents, cheers erupted from cities worldwide. And far beyond human sight, one alien commander allowed herself a single, private breath of relief. Final year. The return. 7 years passed. Humanity had not solved everything. War had not vanished. Pollution had not disappeared. But measurable change was undeniable. Renewable energy dominated global infrastructure. Interplanetary treaties established peaceful exploration mandates. A planetary council, imperfect but functional, represented Earth as a single entity in external affairs. On the final day of the ultimatum, the skies shimmered again. The Carvex fleet returned. This time, no weapons charged. No annihilation lattice formed. The obsidian halo descended into visible orbit. Global broadcasts activated instantly. Adam, now 17, stood again before a screen, older, steadier. Veilrith appeared. The years had not softened her presence, but something in her eyes was different. "You were given one cycle," she said, her voice echoing across the planet. "You were not asked to become flawless. You were asked to become aware." She paused. "Our observations confirm measurable progress. Your species remains volatile, emotional, contradictory." A faint ripple of tension moved across Earth. "But," she continued, "you have demonstrated capacity for self-correction without external devastation." Adam swallowed. "So, are we still alive?" he asked, half smiling. A flicker, almost amusement, crossed her expression. "Yes." Global relief exploded in cheers. But Veilrith raised a claw. "Understand this. You are not spared because you are harmless. You are spared because you are capable of becoming better than your worst instincts." She looked directly at Adam. "You were correct, human child. I was. Fear should not be the architect of extinction." Silence settled gently over the planet. "For the first time," she said, "the Carvex dominion extends not judgment, but invitation." Gasps echoed worldwide. We propose formal first contact. Knowledge exchange. Conditional alliance. Adam blinked. You're not going to destroy us? Veilrith's gaze softened, just barely. If we had destroyed every species capable of harm, we would have destroyed ourselves long ago. Epilogue. The question that echoed. Years later, historians across two civilizations would debate the turning point. Some would credit political reforms. Some would cite environmental recovery metrics. Some would analyze military restraint. But in Carvex's archives, the official record marked a different catalyst. Subject: human juvenile. Designation: Adam Reyes. Action: initiated unsanctioned dialogue. Impact: prevented planetary eradication. Method: inquiry driven by empathy. On a quiet evening decades later, Veilrith stood on Earth for the first time. Not as conqueror, not as judge,
but as guest.
She visited a small memorial plaque in a park. It bore a simple inscription: when faced with fear, choose to ask why. Adam, now a diplomat, joined her. Did you ever regret it? He asked. Regret what? Not destroying us. She looked at children playing nearby, laughing,
falling,
getting back up again. Yes, she said honestly. Fear does not disappear simply because it is challenged. He nodded. But she turned toward the sky, where Carvex ships now orbited peacefully beside human stations. But neither does hope. The wind moved gently through the trees. Two species stood beneath the same sky, once divided by trauma, now connected by a question. And somewhere in the vast dark between stars, a cycle of destruction that had repeated for millennia finally began to break. Not because of superior weapons, not because of domination, but because a child, trembling and terrified, dared to speak.